Welcome to Histories and Native Tales, where today we delve into one of the most iconic and hotly debated conflicts of the Old West, the Battle of the Little Bighorn. While much has been written about this pivotal event, today's focus shifts to a lesser-known but deeply poignant figure from the battle, Private Vincent Charley. At just 27 years old, Charley served as a farrier in D Company of the 7th Cavalry. His primary role involved caring for the horses that were vital to the unit's mobility and survival. But his fate would take a tragic turn during this infamous encounter. Late into the conflict, Charley was riding with his comrades toward Major Reno's contingent, only to find the unit in a state of disarray. Reno's forces, battered and retreating from their initial attack on the Lakota and Cheyenne village, desperately needed reinforcement. Amid this chaotic backdrop, Charley's unit, now joined by Benteen's troops, attempted to assess the situation. Gunfire erupted from the north, unmistakable volleys signaling that General Custer's battalion was engaged in fierce combat. Acting swiftly, the cavalry ascended a hilltop to gain a vantage point, but what they encountered was alarming. A vast sea of Native American warriors blanketing the terrain. The ensuing confrontation spiraled into disarray, with Charley and his comrades finding themselves outnumbered and under relentless attack. The chaos and heroism of this moment set the stage for an extraordinary discovery years later. Modern forensic technology has since unearthed new details about Charley's fate, shedding light on the harrowing circumstances he endured. Stay tuned as we uncover the gripping story of Vincent Charley's life, death, and rediscovery. Swiss-born Vincent Charley was only 27 years old when his life ended amidst the chaos of the Battle of the Little Bighorn, a conflict forever etched in the annals of American history. Charley served as the farrier for the 7th Cavalry's D Company, a critical role that involved the maintenance and care of the unit's horses, a vital component of the cavalry's mobility and strategy. Having been in the Army for 5 years, Charley was no stranger to the demands of military service. Yet, nothing could have prepared him for the events that unfolded late in the afternoon on that fateful day. As the battle raged, Captain Benteen's troops found themselves navigating a ravine, intent on reaching Major Reno's position. When they finally arrived, they encountered a scene of disarray. Reno's forces, having launched an ill-fated attack on a massive Native American village, were retreating in a state of near collapse. The attack had been repelled with devastating losses, leaving the men battered and demoralized. Benteen's arrival was a welcome reinforcement, yet the situation remained dire. Amidst the confusion, a new and ominous sound pierced the air, gunfire to the north, distinct and deliberate, echoing in volleys. The troops immediately suspected that this was General Custer's battalion, now engaged in heavy combat. Urgency gripped the soldiers as they debated their next move. With limited options and the need for a clearer understanding of the battlefield, a decision was made to send 2 companies toward Weir's Point, the highest vantage point in the vicinity. As they ascended the summit, the soldiers were met with a chilling sight. Before them stretched a vast expanse of hills, teeming with thousands of Native American warriors. The scale of the opposition was staggering, their sheer numbers overwhelming. In the distance, about 3 miles away on what is now called Last Stand Hill, a harrowing scene unfolded. The soldiers could see Native warriors riding across the battlefield, firing into the ground. These shots, they soon realized, were not aimed at any living enemy, but were being discharged into the wounded and the fallen. This grim ritual underscored the fierce resolve of the Native forces and the dire consequences for the defeated. Recognizing the imminent danger, the troops quickly formed a skirmish line, a defensive formation designed to hold off attackers. For the next hour, they engaged in long-range exchanges of gunfire with the Native warriors. The terrain provided little cover, making the standoff precarious. Each side sought to gain an advantage, yet the soldiers knew their position was untenable. Their vulnerability on the exposed hilltop was exacerbated by the lack of water and the ever-increasing number of warriors converging on their location. The decision to retreat was inevitable. The confrontation at Weir's Point served as a stark reminder of the overwhelming odds faced by Custer's forces and the strategic dominance of the Native coalition. For Charley and his comrades, this was only one chapter in a battle defined by chaos, bravery, and tragedy. The unfolding events at Last Stand Hill would soon cement the Battle of the Little Bighorn as a defining moment in the clash between the U.S. military and the Native American resistance. As the intense skirmish unfolded, the officers of the 7th Cavalry faced an urgent and sobering realization. The exposed hill they occupied offered no viable advantage. With little natural cover and no access to water, the position was untenable against the overwhelming numbers of Native American warriors gathering on the surrounding plains. Major Weir's decision to retreat to their previous position, Reno Hill, was affirmed by the sight of more warriors advancing rapidly toward them. Recognizing the imminent threat, the order was given to fall back immediately. As the cavalry began their retreat, the tension in the air was palpable. The soldiers moved with haste, but not without challenges. Amidst the organized withdrawal, Lieutenant Edgerly and his orderly, Private Sanders, stayed behind for a brief moment longer. Their delay would place them in a perilous situation as the native warriors began swarming the hill they were vacating. Realizing the urgency, Edgerly and Sanders galloped over the prairie, pushing their mounts to full speed to rejoin their comrades. During their retreat, they encountered a grim and heart-wrenching sight. Ahead of them, a soldier lay wounded, crawling through the tall grass in a desperate bid to keep pace with his companions. The man, unable to continue on horseback, had been shot through the hips and was clearly in no condition to move quickly or defend himself. This soldier was none other than Vincent Charley, the farrier of D Company. His injuries rendered him unable to keep up with the retreating forces, leaving him dangerously exposed on the battlefield. Faced with an impossible decision, Lieutenant Edgerly assessed the situation with a heavy heart. Stopping to help Charley would require valuable time they did not have. The lieutenant quickly calculated that any attempt to hoist the wounded man onto a horse would likely result in their capture, or death at the hands of the advancing warriors. With no other option, Edgerly instructed Charley to hide in the grass and promised to return for him when the opportunity arose. It was a desperate and tragic directive, one that weighed heavily on the lieutenant's conscience, even as he and Sanders galloped away to rejoin the retreating cavalry. As they gained some distance, Edgerly and Sanders turned back for a brief glance. What they saw would haunt them. A group of native warriors had already reached Charley's position and now stood over him. The sight was a stark reminder of the brutal reality of the battlefield, where time and circumstances dictated decisions that would seal the fate of their comrades. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Edward Godfrey, another officer of the 7th Cavalry, recognized the growing danger to the retreating troops. He quickly took charge of the situation, organizing a rearguard action designed to hold off the pursuing warriors. This tactical maneuver was critical in buying precious time for the rest of the companies to make their way back to the relative safety of Reno Hill. Godfrey's leadership in this moment prevented the retreat from devolving into a chaotic rout, ensuring that the majority of the forces could regroup and fortify their position. For Vincent Charley, however, there would be no reprieve. His story, like that of many others who perished at the Battle of the Little Bighorn, is a somber testament to the chaos, bravery, and devastating human cost of the conflict. The actions of Edgerly, Sanders, and Godfrey in these crucial moments highlight the split-second decisions and sacrifices faced by soldiers in the heat of battle, decisions that would echo through history as both acts of survival and tragedies of war. As the 7th Cavalry reassembled on Reno Hill, the harrowing events of the retreat left a lasting impression on all who survived. The sacrifice of soldiers like Vincent Charley, left behind in the face of overwhelming odds, serves as a poignant reminder of the personal toll of the conflict and the unrelenting ferocity of the Battle of the Little Bighorn. Nearly 2 days after the Battle of the Little Bighorn had ended, the troops who returned to the battlefield found the lifeless body of Private Vincent Charley. The scene was harrowing. A guidance staff, a slender pole typically used to carry flags, had been brutally rammed down his throat. The soldiers who discovered Charley's remains assumed this cruel act was the method of his death, a grim testament to the ferocity and ruthlessness of the conflict. Charley was buried where he had fallen, in a lone grave on the windswept prairie. For decades, his final resting place remained unmarked and largely forgotten, a silent reminder of the chaos and loss that characterized the infamous battle. In 1904, during a recovery effort led by veteran survivors of the 7th Cavalry, Charley's remains, along with others, were exhumed. The skeletons were reinterred in the Custer National Cemetery, their identities unknown at the time. Charley, like many of his comrades, became one of the countless nameless soldiers whose sacrifices were remembered in anonymity. It wasn't until 1992, with the advent of modern forensic technology, that Charley's identity was finally confirmed. His skeleton, found alone on the prairie, was subjected to meticulous forensic analysis. The results provided a remarkable glimpse into the life of the man behind the uniform. At 5 feet 10 inches, Charley was taller than the average soldier of his era. His bones revealed evidence of a life shaped by hard physical labor, a testament to his role as a farrier, a demanding position that required strength and endurance. Forensic experts also identified a bullet hole through Charley's right pelvis, the entry wound indicating he was shot from behind, a detail that corroborated accounts of his injuries during the battle. The analysis painted a vivid picture of his final moments, revealing the immense suffering he likely endured. Through advanced facial reconstruction, scientists were able to create a model of Charley's face, giving modern observers the opportunity to see him as he might have appeared in life, a rare and poignant connection to a soldier who had been lost to history for over a century. The fate of Vincent Charley had a lasting impact on those who survived the battle, particularly Lieutenant Edgerly. After retiring as a brigadier general in 1909, Edgerly reported the burden of guilt for leaving Charley behind on the battlefield. Though circumstances had forced his decision, Edgerly struggled to reconcile abandoning a fellow soldier to the mercy of their enemies. His inner turmoil serves as a reflection of the moral and emotional scars borne by many who fought at Little Bighorn. The rediscovery and identification of Charley's remains not only brought closure to his story, but also shed light on the broader sacrifices made during one of the most iconic and tragic battles in American history. His life and death, once obscured by the passage of time, now stand as a testament to the enduring power of modern science to honor the memory of those who gave everything in service to their duty. Vincent Charley's story, unearthed from the depths of history, leaves us with haunting questions about the forgotten lives and untold sacrifices of those who shaped the Old West. What other secrets lie buried beneath the battlefields, waiting to be revealed? Could modern technology uncover even more truths hidden in the shadows of history? To explore these mysteries and dive deeper into the lives of those who lived, fought, and died in the untamed frontier, follow us here on Histories and Native Tales. Join us as we uncover the forgotten stories that still whisper through the winds of time.